This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a beautiful yet extremely frosty morning here in Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. Getting that beautiful skyline, gorgeous colour palette, but it definitely is cold. We've got a cold front that was approaching, and lo and behold, it's here. But still, it's going to be a fantastic morning. We're not just going to be coming to you live from Djuma. We will be coming to you live from many different locations across South Africa, all with different and unique things to offer. So everyone, it definitely is that time of day for your live bumble through the bush. Welcome aboard, everyone. Get ready. It's going to be bumpy. Luckily, there's cushions on the back of my vehicle, so enjoy them. But of course, it's the start of your sunrise safari for today, your live safari, that is. And my name is Lauren, and I do have Davi on camera with me today. And we're not going to stop. We're going to keep moving. Time is of the essence in the morning, and the more you sit and dilly-dally, shall we say, the more time you lose. We have different missions today, Tristan and I will share them with you in just a moment. But first things first, I already told you this safari is live, but it's also interactive. So please do talk to us. It's really important you send in your questions. Sometimes we need a question or two when it gets rather quiet out here, shall we say. Use the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, or you can use @FC on the YouTube chat, or if you wish, you can head over to the WildEarth website. As long as you've registered, you can submit your questions under the live safari page. But kids, most importantly, we want to hear from you. We really, really do. Send your questions in via email, kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Tell us your name, your age, and your favourite animal. I want to know that. Sorry, I was distracted by this hornbill. So the plans... Darby and Lamba, both, or at least one. He will most likely get lucky with Mreeps, and I will most likely get lucky with Mreeps, and I know that many of you are looking for an update for sure. He was bitten by a puff adder last night. Show you all his condition. So that's our separate missions for today. I am going to drive past the hyena den. I'm taking this road, which clearly the buffalo have also taken as well, and try and see if we can at least spot some hyenas at the den. So I think it's going to be a rather busy morning, and hopefully Mreeps will be okay. Many of you messaged us last night, and we don't have the answers. But what you've got to remember is that these wild animals face snakes every day. It's highly likely that many of the leopards that we spend time with will have been bitten by a puff adder. So we're really hoping that we will be okay. But that's Tristan's mission. So as I bumble towards the hyena den on this really cold morning, we're going to send you guys to take a look at the weather across all our locations.
Well, it seems like it's going to be beautiful weather for our drive. It's, funny enough, actually not too cold here this morning. It feels actually pretty all right at this stage. Anyway, before we get into all of that, my name's Tristan. On camera I've got Morgan, and we are slowly heading east at the moment in search of young Mreeps. The plan is to try and see if we can find him, catch up with him, to see how he's doing. I've read quite a lot of stuff about it over last night just to see, and spoke to a few vets, and there's really not much that is known about leopards and the effects of a venomous snake like a puff adder on them. They say that most of their experiences with domestic animals like dogs and cats, and it always depends on amounts of envenomation, whether or not there's a bit of a resistance to it in that individual species, and there's a whole bunch of things. But the fact of the matter is that they say a lot of animals do come right from a puff adder bite. It's just that there's going to be two things that could happen. Either it's going to swell and just come down again and it'll be all right, but it'll take a good amount of time. They reckon anywhere between sort of 2 weeks and a month that he'll have a swollen paw. If that is the case, or he's going to have an issue where he's going to get the swelling, and then the necrotic process is going to start and his skin is going to slop. So you're going to get this like dark black skin that's going to come out, and it's going to start to almost peel off for a bit, which will look horrendous, and it will probably not be very comfortable. But the problem then from there will be secondary infection. So that's where he's going to have to be a bit careful. But I think more than anything, and I honestly believe that he'll be able to recover from it. I don't think that it will be like a life-threatening thing. There's some buffalo. But I think the biggest threat that he has is the fact that his ability to climb is a little bit compromised at the moment. And so what we're going to have to hope for is that lions don't find him and he doesn't start messing around with hyenas like he has been, because hyenas see him hobbling about and incapacitated, they will be ruthless. So that's what we got to hope for, is that he can just kind of stay out of the way and just take it easy until he recovers nicely. And we just got to kind of think positively. It's not an absolute death sentence, and like I said, I've seen it go both ways with leopards. Some have done okay and others haven't. So we'll just have to see. But again, it's a natural thing. So for those of you that are stressed about it and are saying that we should intervene, there's very little that we can do. And as I explained yesterday evening, we're in a situation here in this particular reserve where, yes, wildlife in world terms has declined and was under pressure due to human human pressure is probably the best way to put it. But in this particular reserve, the leopard population is as healthy as it can possibly be. And while that doesn't make it easy to accept leaving an animal when it's had an injury, you need to understand that we're trying to make this as natural a system as possible. And like we don't go and help a buffalo with an injured leg, we also won't be helping a leopard, because it's not like it's a highly endangered species that has a chance of going extinct. In this particular area, that animal will still be fairly, what would the word be, well populated. So it's a hard thing, and it's difficult because, we have an emotional attachment to these animals. But at the end of the day, this is how wildlife works. These animals have to survive things out here, and I was saying yesterday that nature is harsh and unforgiving at times. And so, we have to just respect for the fact that this has been going on for millions of years, and these animals, are capable of dealing with it. And if they aren't, well, then that bloodline, I'm afraid, is not as strong as it should be. And so that's nature's way of ensuring the strongest survive, and that things going forward, are as good as they can be. But it's going to be a rough ride, I think, for a lot of you, and it's not going to be a quick one either. I don't think we're going to have a resolution of this to this morning. It's not like we're going to go there and Mreeps is going to be jumping around all over the place. I don't think. He might be. Let's see. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, beefy buffalo. This is just some bulls that are on the edge of a herd. I left the herd yesterday coming in this general direction, so I wouldn't be surprised that more of the herd was kind of hanging around in this area. And as we go, maybe we'll bump into more. It's been quite nice having a lot of buffalo around of late. All right, I'm going to leave these two boys. I'm going to let them carry on with their morning. We'll keep on our mission. I want to try to get into the area and see if we can find tracks pretty quickly. In the meantime, though, let's send you across to Chad.
Good morning, everybody, and Warm welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve, where how beautiful is this start to the morning? Crash of a couple of white rhinos. My name's Chad. On camera today we got Johan, and we came out to the southern parts of andBeyond Phinda this morning to see if we can find some rhinos, which these rhinos have produced very early this morning, as well as any sign of any elephants. So it's hopefully going to be a fantastic day out there this morning. I mean, from last night seeing that Pridelands as well as those two male cheetahs. Hopefully we can continue the luck this morning. Excuse me. Look how beautiful that white rhino is there. Have a look at those ears. Are they continuously moving around, keeping the whereabouts of other things moving around. I mean, it's quite tough to see now as they start to move off, but rhinos have extremely bad eyesight, and so they often use their hearing as well as their sense of smell to pick up anything that might be around. I'm not going to move just yet. They seem to be coming out to the right-hand side of that beautiful lala palm there. There's a couple of red-billed oxpeckers that are also sitting on top of the rhinos, cleaning those rhinos as they move around. It's like a buffet on the move. There you can see Johan's got a beautiful shot of that beautiful red-billed oxpecker. But as I was saying, that these are 4 white rhinos. White rhinos are a lot bigger compared to black rhinos. Black rhino is a little bit smaller than the white rhino. Also, white rhinos you often see, if you look at all of them, they've got their heads down, feeding on the grass. So they are grazers. And black rhino, they are what we call browsers. They feed off the twigs and sticks of specific trees, namely sicklebush, and as well as tamboiti. And so you'll often see they've got a much smaller head, and their head's often very raised up, looking around. Also, the black rhinos seem to be a little bit more aggressive compared to white rhinos. White rhinos are very placid animals. But it's a beautiful start to the morning with these 4 white rhinos. It is quite a misty morning out here on andBeyond Phinda. So I think as that sun does start to rise, this mist might lift. And I think we're in for a perler of a day this morning. As you can see, Johan just zooming out. It's a beautiful misty morning here on andBeyond Phinda. I think we might stay with these rhinos a little bit longer. Maybe see if we can get another view.
Well, enjoy your time with the rhinos. I'm jealous, Chad. Fortunately, here we aren't allowed to stay with our rhinos, so here's what it is. Alright, we're still battling, just slowly heading down to where we last had Mreeps. It's going to take a bit of time. Well, not a bit of time, it'll be probably about 10 minutes and we'll be there. They are, well, where he is around the Mulawanini, which is kind of straight to our east here, not too far. And lots of hyena tracks obviously going to this kill for Shasha and where Tlalamba was. It would be interesting to see if they're both still there or if another leopard has arrived. It wouldn't shock me if Tundi arrived there or if one of the other leopards had found it. It's in such a kind of easily seen spot that it would make sense to me that others would find it on their sort of routes. I see Lauren's in front of us, which is good. I'm sure she'll find what she's looking for now. Just want to check here. Alright, so Lauren has the visuals of those cats, which is good. We're going to bypass her and try and head a little bit further to the east. Unfortunately, our signal is so poor this side that I can't go in there. I need to kind of move this way. There's little poos everywhere for what looks like leopards. Interesting. Sounds like those leopards are fighting over there. Which is crazy. I don't see any sign of the kill in the tree either. I wonder if it's been dropped. But I'm sure we'll see Lauren kind of going in. I see tracks for a male leopard walking up the road here, heading down and this way. Also tracks for a female leopard too, but they don't look fresh. Alright, so we're going to carry on. Let's see if we can find little Mreeps and see if he's doing okay this morning.
Shasha and Kalamba still fighting. We just watched them go at each other again. He stalked her. She lay on her back. Bam. And then they ran. And now we can't find them. Okay, there's a hyena covered in blood. That's Swaz. Hi, Swaz. You've clearly had a kill. That much is obvious. He's running because he can hear them. They're fighting. Oh, that was so cool.
Yeah, I got it.
You got them? Ah, yes. Do you know what, Dav? I'm going to reposition for this. Is it just one up the tree? Bear with us, everyone. Don't want to miss this. I can't believe they're still fighting. They've moved. There's no kill. He was chasing her this morning. That was the sort of dynamic. This is better. They're now on Little Gowrie completely, not on Chitwa. Okay, there's the two. One on the ground, one up the tree. You see that? Shasha, I think, is on the ground. Kalamba's ran up the tree. Wow, you guys, what is going on here? Why are you still fighting? This has been a 24-hour saga. Yesterday they came to blows, and today... Not quite physical blows today, but definitely chasing one another. He's walking away. If they go further south, it's going to be a little bit tricky for us, I'm afraid. Elson, sorry, my radio just spontaneously turned off there and turned back on again. I got you back now. Bluebird, you think they don't like each other? I think maybe they do. Why on earth are they still fighting? They seem to want to just clash right now. I wonder. But yes, no. It's definitely been an exhausting time for them. I mean, this is exactly 24 hours later and they're still chasing each other. I can't see him anymore. Now it's all camped down. I wonder if she will climb down at any point and give him a chase, or if she's going to finally rest. Can you see him, Dav, or has he wandered off? Wandered off. I didn't expect to find him. We drove into Shasha, and then he ran straight at her. And both Davi and I missed that question, I'm afraid. I have no idea, I'm afraid. I really don't know if they have rested, but probably not. The kill's gone. I'd imagine it's been dropped, and one of the Djuma clan got extremely lucky. Swazi's been lucky at some point, but with what, I don't know. But I really don't know. Doesn't look like it. And they are primarily nocturnal, remember, so they're going to be a lot more active at night time, so hopefully they get some rest today. He's walked off. She's watching him, though. That's what she's watching, him. Oh, this has been quite the saga to follow. And the photo that I captured, because it all happened so fast, is definitely her on top, walloping him. She definitely got the upper hand. But of course, it's over quickly. They're not sort of trying to kill one another, if that makes sense. But they are definitely both on Little Gowrie now, quite deep into Little Gowrie. So if she does come down, we may lose her. Oh, she's going to come down. Oh, Kalamba. Do you want me to reverse a bit, Dove? I can see a gap. Happy?
A little bit more.
A little bit more. Okay. She's assessing the ground before jumping down. She knows he's around somewhere. Shasha is somewhere there.
Yeah, this side.
The two of them were fighting just 5 minutes ago.
Is it?
He's just a little bit south. I think they're in love. I'm joking when I'm telling Airbnb that. I don't think they're in love. Well, Kalamba, are you going to come back to the north, dear? Why are you spending time battling with other leopards in the south? Come back to the north. Okay, we're going to do our very best to keep up with Kalamba if we can, but for now, over to Steve to say good morning.
Good morning everybody. Welcome to the dawn here in Pridelands, where it's a little bit fresh. But a beautiful morning. Nonetheless, we have climbed on top of one of the highest points, and we are just sitting on a rock enjoying the splendor of the sunrise. My name is Steve, joined by Paul on camera, and as always, we are very excited to have you with us. And we are just going to be bumbling around, walking around, looking for nice high points again. See if there's any new trees we can find. Looking for little hidey holes. It's a beautiful thing about being on foot, is your ability to investigate those little areas that are just inaccessible to the vehicle. And Pridelands has got many of them. But a great way to start the morning, just to sit back and enjoy a beautiful view like this one. Okay, well, we're going to move on, see what other points we can find. Let's send you over to Tristan, who I think has managed to catch up with Mreeps.
We have found little Mreeps. He's all curled up in his little ball like I thought he would be, but his paw is monstrous. It is swollen massively. You can see it there. That's that front paw just by his face. It is way out of proportion. I mean, if you look at his back leg there, it's almost like the front paw is the same size as the top of the back leg. So he's going to be a sore kitty this morning. I think it's going to be painful and swollen and like that for a few days, unfortunately. The good news is that he's awake. You can see he's not his normal self. He's not kind of taking his eyes off us. He's a little bit sort of watchful, and he's going to need to be like this. Unfortunately, he's in a bit of a compromised state, so his ability to relax is not as much as it normally is, and to do his kind of playful Mreeps things, he's going to have to just take it easy for a little bit and just spend time resting and kind of taking time to heal. Shame, my boy. Has it been a long night? I can imagine how painful it is. Like I was saying to Morgan now, that people that I know that have been hit by puff adders, they all say the same thing, that it's one of the most excruciating things that they've had. So he'll be in pain, unfortunately. He looks okay though. He doesn't look like he's kind of drowsy or struggling with any sort of breathing or anything like that. Not that that would cause this, but this kind of venom. This is a cytotoxic venom. So basically this is just breaking down tissue. That's what the puff adder's venom does. Interesting enough, when I was talking to vets yesterday, they were telling me that snake bites from neurotoxic snakes, or snakes that have a heavier neurotoxic venom, is much less likely for them to survive. But in this case, you know, we'll see how he goes. All right, well, we'll stay with him probably for the remainder of the morning. It's not going to be much action, I'm afraid, from here. But hopefully we'll be able to see him kind of just get up and move a little bit and see how he's doing.
As one of the industry's best and Fagasa endorsed training institutes, NJ Moorfield Guide College produces professional guides of exceptional caliber and gives students from around the world an incredible experience. NJ Moore offers courses to suit all types of interests. The full-length career course results in a FAGASA-accredited qualification and the option of a 6-month internship at one of Mall Family Collection's luxury safari lodges. Shorter courses are a great introduction for those considering a career in field guiding or even a life-enriching experience in your gap year. With spaces still available in July, don't miss out on this fantastic opportunity to live your African dream.
What fascinates me most about the animal circle of life is the intricacies between the large and the very, very small. I mean, it's very easy to go out there and find the large. Once you found the large, the cascading effect down to the small absolutely fascinates me. Alertness and situation awareness is by far the number one aspect for protecting ourselves out on safari.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on WildEarth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Well, as you can see, Mreeps is still just kind of looking over his shoulder. He's a lot more kind of, not nervous, but he's definitely a lot more watchful than he normally is. Normally he looks at you for a little bit and then just starts looking around and doing other things. But today he's just watching us quite a lot, and he almost looks like he's feeling sorry for himself. I can hear lions roaring as well. It's far, but there's lions roaring somewhere. It sounds like maybe Mala Mala that they're calling from. But yeah, you can see he's kind of looking around. I mean, obviously his ability to move is going to be compromised a little bit, so the best thing for him is just to lie and curl up into a ball. It's not ideal that he's kind of curled his head into the grass rather than the opposite way around, but you know, I think he was cold and probably find that was a nice little protective area. Also hard for other animals to find him like this. It's not like he's easily kind of spotted, particularly from the road. He's hidden himself behind a nice little thicket where he can just lie down and take it easy. I actually think his best bet is to try and find a nice dense termite mound somewhere and try to get up onto the termite mound and just lie on top there. I think that's going to be his best bet. There's actually one that's not that far from where we are right now. So let's see, we'll try and hope that he does okay and that he finds himself a nice little spot to sit. But it's going to be a long process. This is not going to be overnight that he's going to come right. Oh, wise one. I don't know, to be honest with you. It's come at a very awkward time, this whole thing, because he's definitely been spending a lot of time on his own of late, and while Tandy has come back to feed him, I think that mother-son bond was slowly being eroded, and the fact that she hasn't we haven't seen her come back for 3 days now is not unusual, but it maybe is a sign that things are starting to kind of deteriorate between the two of them. But I'm hoping when she finds him and he's injured that she will be a lot more maternal and she'll stay with him and she'll kind of try and just look after him as much as possible. But mother leopards are interesting. They sometimes know when there's issues that they need to potentially just leave the animal and kind of go and do their own thing. But what I'm hoping she does is she manages to catch something small bring it back to where he is, and he can eat it like a little scrub hare. Because the problem is she can't really take him to a kill unless the kill's on the ground, because in this condition I don't think he'll be able to climb. I think he's going to really struggle to actually even just walk. So, getting up into a tree is not going to be a possibility for him. And if there's hyenas there and they spot a very injured leopard, they could give him a hard time. So it's going to require quite a delicate process. I'm sorry, my boy, I know it's sore. And she's going to have to kind of balance things. And I don't know what the answer is to it. I think time will tell whether Thandi comes and spends time with him. And who knows, maybe she'll find him and she will it'll kickstart her maternal instincts to really kind of spend time around him and just protect him, and which would be amazing if it did. But I don't know. I honestly don't know what the answer is to it at this stage. I think, we're going into a little bit of uncharted territory, because I've never seen a young animal like this that was still very dependent on its mom get hit. All the other leopards I've seen have already been quite big. So Ravenscourt's cubs, they were already, the one was already over 2 years old, and Kwatile was, she was an adult leopard at that point. In fact, that was quite a horrible story, because she actually had cubs at the time. So those cubs would have died too, because their mother died. They were little. But yeah, I'm not really sure what's going to happen with Thandi, or how she's going to go about it, or what the kind of process is going to be. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I think, spending time with him, hopefully she arrives at some point and is able to care for him a little bit. The problem is that she's going to have to try find him, which is not easy, because he's not going to move towards her call, and she's potentially left him somewhere else. So when we know how mobile he's been in the last 2 days, he's gone to Tswalu Dam wall, he's been the Mulwanini, he's been up here, and he's kind of gone back and forth on his tracks. So for Thandi, it must be very difficult to find this little guy, and he's not going to want to make a lot of noise, because he doesn't want to attract too much attention to himself in this condition. Such a beautiful cat that hopefully everything will be okay. I mean, he looks fairly kind of, what's the word? It's not like he's lethargic or anything like that. I mean, he's kind of moving, and he's looking up, and he's generally sort of interested in things around him. It's not like he's, not moving, but he's definitely got a very, very, very big paw at this stage. So Pamela, where he killed the puff adder from where we are now is probably about, let's say maybe 30 yards. But where I left him last night, this is exactly where he lay up. So he was moving when I left it. Well, he was trying to move when I left him down towards the Mulwanini riverbed, but he's stopped pretty much where I left him. So yeah, we'll see. Signal here is a bit sketchy, so that's why we didn't follow him yesterday. Is unfortunately, the signal goes up and down in this area, so we're lucky that we can kind of, where he's lay up, we can actually spend a bit of time. But he hasn't moved far at all. You can maybe see now just how big that paw is. Look at the size of the back paw. And I know the back paw is always more slender and narrow, but you can see a monstrous difference. And even in the front left paw, it's half the size, if not a third. So it's going to be sore for a while, I'm afraid. Let's see how he gets up. It looks like he wants to get up. I think he can hear the buffalo that are coming. There's a big herd of buffalo that I can hear to the north of us. Oh, is it sore, my boy? You can imagine for him how bored he must be. You're an adventuring cat normally. Oh. He's been grooming it a lot though, which is, you can see there's a bit of matted fur there, and he's kind of been trying to look after it as much as possible, but it's sore. Okay, big stretches. It's actually not as swollen as I first thought. It's actually funny enough, it's actually not as bad as it was even last night. Last night was worse than this, which is quite interesting. Now that his kind of leg, I can actually see properly, he had his leg bent. That's why it looked so much wider than it was. If you look at his front paw and his back paw, they're actually not that dissimilar now, which is good news. So that's definitely that horrendous swelling around the paw joint that he had yesterday. I mean, it was really like a big bubble around there. Is come down a little bit. It's not as bad as it was yesterday. But shame. I can see he's uncomfortable. All right, well, we'll sit with him and we'll just babysit him and kind of be his friend for the morning. In the meantime, though, let's send you across to Chad in Phinda.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda, everybody, where I just hopped out of the vehicle now. There's lots of rhino tracks around, and I've actually just spotted some male lion tracks. And they just here come down this road, and they continue through this open area here on our right-hand side. It does look like they are from last night sometime, but I think we might change our plan a little bit this morning and see if we can maybe head down that direction and see if we can find that male lion. It does seem like he might be on a territorial patrol. This male lion, he dominates two prides, which is the pride in the south where we are and in the far west. And after the little bit of rain that we had a couple of days ago, this male lion might be now re-scent marking his territory. Spraying his urine, kicking back his feet, just like what a white rhino would do. I mean, as you can see around me here, there's a lot of white rhino dung. As I was saying a little bit earlier, the white rhino grazes, so there's just grass around. And this is a rhino midden. And often lots of rhinos will come drop their dung around. But what's interesting about the male white rhino is when he drops his dung in middens like this, he'll often drop his dung, and what he'll do is he'll actually kick his feet back in the sand and in the dung to get that scent of his dung on his feet. And then as he does walk his territory, he'll then lay that scent all around. So, I mean, there's lots of dung around here that has been kicked, but for instance, having a look at this dung over here, it does look like it is quite fresh, but probably a female. I mean, you can see it hasn't been kicked open or anything like that. Sometimes what the female white rhinos will do is they'll also kick their dung open. And that's just to indicate to the male within that area that she could potentially be an estrus. She might be ready to mate. And what that male will do is then smell that scent, pick up her scent, and then often follow the scent of that female white rhino. So a lot that you can tell about this dung around in this area. And it even seems like it is quite a nice area for rhinos to rest. There's a lot of tracks around of them lying down on their sides. So it is a good area for white rhinos. But I think, as I was saying, we're most likely going to see if we can find this male lion. For now, I'm going to jump back in the car, continue heading in that direction, and seeing if we can potentially find this male lion for you.
We're just scratching around here for a leopard. We had her, we were following her beautifully. She was giving us all sorts of entertainment. However, she has dashed off. We've lost her now, so we are just going to keep scratching around in case we can see her. Very exciting morning, leopard-wise. They were fighting, chasing one another up a tree. And that's naturally because it's winter. Things have become very tense with the mammalian predators. are around here somewhere, so I'm going to keep bumbling around and try and find them. Stations, I think Kalamba has crossed into Little Gowrie for now.
Welcome back, everybody. We haven't moved too far, and I know I was speaking about that mist layer earlier on this morning. As that sun is starting to rise on the eastern side of andBeyond Phinda, the mist has started to lift, and I think it's a beautiful scenery shot that we've got here with those beautiful orange colors coming out. So I think let's just take a moment just to enjoy this beautiful scenery that we got here. What a beautiful morning here on andBeyond Phinda. I think today is going to be an extremely hot day, with that mist layer now starting to lift. There's a lot of birds that are even starting to call now, off in the distance. Been hearing the southern boo-boo, grey-headed bushwracks, and a couple of other birds. And as the sun does rise, there is a lot of dew that might be around. So those birds are often quite heavy. So what they do is they'll often now come out, they'll vocalize their territories, and they'll sit on top of the trees, wait for that sun to dry them off before they then do start to continue the morning, maybe potentially feeding or looking for other birds that might be in the area. While we were sitting in that little bit of silence here on andBeyond Phinda, I was just listening out for anything like Nyala's alarm calling, Impala's alarm calling, monkey's alarm calling, anything that might give the position of this male lion away. It has been quite quiet, so I think I'm going to continue and loop around this area, see if we can find any further tracks of this male lion. But for now, we're going to send you over to Lauren at Djuma.
June and Swazi are giving each other quite the greeting ceremony. It's very intimate, it's very in-depth, and they are covered from head to toe in blood, the two of them. They have had something big. I mean really big. June is covered, Swaz is covered. It can't be the kill, it can't be Shasha's kill, because that wouldn't have been enough blood, no way. They've separated. We followed Kalamba. I'm just going to reposition. We followed Kalamba for a really long time. She gave us quite the show. She was marching and grooming and scent marking. You can really see when Kalamba's not happy. And Swazi's now standing right underneath the tree where the kill was. Now, the kill's no longer there, but that's not where the blood's come from. Definitely not. Shasha's still in the area. I think Kalamba crossed back into Little Gowrie. She's not happy. She's marching. She's walking like this. Highly entertaining. And we think she crossed Gowrie Main again and went back into Little Gowrie. I'm just going to loop around this area for Shasha because he'll still be here. I can see June. They've had something really big last night, these hyenas. Fascinating. We're going to do our very best to try and find Shasha, and we're going to send you guys to Tristan with Mreeps.
As you can see, little Mreeps is up and moving, and his spirit, while probably a little muted, has not been dampened. He's been picking up sticks and playing with them, and just generally trying to be a bit of a clown. But you can see how he is putting a bit of weight on it, which is good news. So he unfortunately is not walking very well, but he's putting a bit of weight on, and you can see the size difference between the two paws when he walks like that. The one is much more swollen. But as long as he's putting a bit of weight on and is moving around, he'll be all right. I think he's going to be okay. We're going to have to put positive vibes out there. But yeah, he's still got his kind of little spirit of playing with sticks and things like that. But what I am going to do is, I think, just from when he's been moving like this, he's typically a little bit shy of the vehicle, more so than normal. And with him moving, if he's sitting stationary, staying with him is fine, but with him moving, what I don't want is hyenas, and this is unfortunately a reality of where we live because hyenas are so clever, is that off-roading attracts hyenas at this time of the day. So while he's moving like this, I don't want to off-road with him. I don't want to attract the attention of a whole bunch of hyenas in his state. The idea is that we check up on him and just make sure how he's doing, but at the same time, I don't want to have a situation where he is kind of under pressure because of our kind of moving around. So what I think we're going to do rather is just let him slowly saunter off wherever he wants to go. I don't want to go crashing around and just generally attracting attention to the area that he's in, and try and kind of just let him have some space to be able to move. But you can see he's still got his curiosity. Wait, you can't go up trees. I mean, he's moving all right considering. He's definitely, doing kind of leopardy things and is looking around, but like I say, I just don't want to attract any unwanted attention to him right now. So I think the best thing is going to be just to let him kind of slink off. I don't think he's going to move far in the next couple of days. You never know. I mean, he seems as though he's actually putting a bit of weight on, so he could go back towards Chitwa or around there, but I think it just needs to be handled a little bit sensitively. I don't think we need to harass him. Excuse me. Or make him, feel like he's being pressured and has to move around. The more rest he gets and the more he looks after himself. You see, he's got a little stick. You silly boy. You can't play with the sticks and have a sore paw. Or maybe he's just so bored after sitting all night, which is new for him, that he's now decided sticks are the time. He might if he hears Tundi close by, but he doesn't want to attract attention to himself in this situation. So most leopards, and even when they're not injured, especially young leopards, don't contact call because they are scared of what can come their way. The only time you see leopards contact calling is either moms looking for the cubs, or if it's cubs that have lost their moms, and the desperation starts to come in, that they start to look and they start to make little noises and try and find where they think their mom kind of will be. Then sometimes you hear them, but generally they're pretty quiet and just stay nice and kind of silent, and it's the best way because it doesn't attract lions, it doesn't attract hyenas if you're quiet. Just stay nice and kind of still and don't make too much noise and play with sticks every now and then. The one thing that he can boast now is he's probably got the largest leopard track in the entire Sabi Sands on that right foot. I think he'll give Marcel's averagely sized boats that he has on his feet a run for his money at this stage, which I know we shouldn't be making light of his little paw, but sometimes you've got to have a little bit of a laugh, when it's something that is a little bit serious. All right, little Mreeps, we're going to probably just leave him to saunter off and to go and do his own thing. Like I say, I just don't want to kind of bash around with him. It gets quite thick here. And so in the meantime, let's send you back across to Tswalu.
Good morning indeed, Dumela, from a very chilly Tswalu. It's only about 7 degrees at the moment, so beautiful, crisp air. And you're with me, Deirdre, bundled up nicely, and Gerard on camera, also bundled up very much. It's gloves, beanies, hats, scarves, about 6 layers. And we're in preparation for probably the next 2 or 3 days that says -5 on the weather forecast. So this is just a little bit of a teaser this morning. We know what's coming, that nice little cold front coming all the way up from Cape Town. So the animals will be a little bit chilly this morning. We're going to go and head towards the south, heading to one of the dams. We're going to see if we can follow up on the 2 boys. They were around that area yesterday, and maybe we'll have a meerkat update as well this morning. That's our plan. Hopefully the animals also go according to plan. And yeah, we'll see how we go. So even the animals, when it's this cold, huddle up and they wait for the sun to come up. Because just before the sun rises, the temperature was about 4 degrees, much colder. And we only start seeing them moving when the sun is actually up and able to warm them up a little bit. Oh, there's a close book. 2. Can you see them there? Maybe. Back a bit. They'll be on the tree. We had a gemsbok here. I saw him just hiding in the grass. Oh. Now I see his backside running through the grass. There he is, there he is. There's 2 of them there. They stopped there, correct? Oh, that's a bit of a... it's a bit of an angle for the vehicle, sorry. Yeah, there they are. You just see these little white faces and horns staring up at us. No, don't run away. Oh. And there they go. So they're about to exit the scene here. It's nice to see a gemsbok early. We're very, very lucky. We get quite a few of them.
Suspended above Kenya's Masai Mara is a breathtaking lodge where unrivaled service goes hand in hand with extraordinary wildlife sightings. Ngala Mara offers a quiet place where guests have the opportunity to reconnect with the world again. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer before the end of July, and you and a friend could win a 3-night stay at this award-winning lodge. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Africa is very special, and when you come down here, even when you're watching through our camera, the landscapes change from desert to bushveld to up in the Masai Mara where there's grassland. That means that the biodiversity changes as we move along Africa. And what I love most about connecting with you guys is the fact that I get to share these wonderful experiences with thousands of people.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is call of desperation with the cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops. Oof.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at WildEarth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed. Welcome back to Pridelands, everyone, where we're having a very nice contemplative morning, checking out all of the little koppies or little high points on Pridelands. And isn't this another beautiful spot? We're further west from where we were earlier, but a nice elevated high point looking down over the northern sections towards Leopard Dam, just off to our left-hand side a little bit. We can't really see it at the moment, but it's wonderful to get these high points, to get a nice understanding of the landscape. You can sometimes see some greenery that indicates the drainage line or the riverine area. And then the high points. Nice area to try and spot some elephants from. We're following some elephant tracks just before, and some dung that had gotten cold and then dung that had gotten warm. This means we were getting a bit closer, so we thought we'd come up onto this high point, see if we can spot them. But we haven't managed to see any elephant. But it gives a very nice aerial view, or high aerial view of the landscape, which is always quite nice. Sometimes seeing it just from ground level, you don't always appreciate the vastness of an area. But as far as the eye can see, wild places with many different habitats, macro and micro ecosystems. Large areas like this are conserved to protect the big species, the easily identifiable big species, but in conserving those large species, you do at the same time conserve the myriad of very, very small ones as well. Okay, well, we're probably going to have a coffee shortly, and we're going to send you over to Tswalu Dam with Lauren.
We have just had the most beautiful sighting of two Ellies, two young boys, drinking at Tswalu Dam. But unfortunately, they've walked off now. So I'll just give you a view of the hippos. It's very peaceful watching Ellies drink at the dam, especially when the water is so still like this that you get the most perfect reflection. But for now, let's just take a moment to listen to all the sounds around the dam with the hippos. Faith, you're asking what can hippos not do underwater? Was that correct, Dov?
I didn't copy.
Faith. Oh my goodness. They can't swim. They are not able to swim. All they're really doing in the water is just staying buoyed up, saving energy, and defecating and urinating. I'm not entirely sure that answers your question, but they're definitely not able to swim. They are hippopotamus amphibious. That's their Latin name. So that second part of the Latin name shows you that they have a two-part sort of life cycle where they do need the water. They mate in the water. They give birth in the water. But they don't feed in the water. They don't feed in the water or swim. I had a really cool sighting of hippos mating yesterday. It's fascinating because he is so much bigger than her. The bull, that is, so much bigger. And his body weight naturally on her back pushes her under. And she can hold her breath, but think of humans. If you take a breath and then go underwater, you're fine because you've got oxygen. But imagine if someone pushes you underwater when you haven't taken that breath. You've actually just exhaled and let out all your carbon dioxide. Then by you exhaling and letting out that carbon dioxide, you've got no oxygen. The next step is to inhale. But if someone pushes you under before you've inhaled, you're going to struggle. You're not going to be able to stay underwater the same amount of time that you could stay under if you did have oxygen in your lungs. So if that happens to the female hippo, if she's pushed under too quickly without having taken that inhale, she's not going to be able to stay under for up to 5 to 6 minutes, especially if she's under stress and moving. If you sort of free dive and you stay still underwater, you can stay under much longer than if you're swimming because you're using energy. Your muscles are using up the oxygen. So it's very common for hippos to actually drown the females, the cows, from the mating process because he's either taken her by surprise and pushed her under too quickly, or he's held her under for far too long and she drowns, which is really sad. So it's really something to see hippos mating. Okay, we're going to bumble around Chitwa. Hopefully we can catch some leopard action again. And for now, we're going to send you over to Chad.
So we moved off from where those lion tracks were, and we've come across this fresh pile of dung and urine, as you can see just in front of us. And when we arrived here a little while ago, there was still quite a lot of moisture on the ground. And also, if you look here, you can see it's quite bubbly still. I can actually see quite closely that the bubbles are slowly disappearing. This is dung of an elephant bull. You can see very, very big dung balls. If I open it up a little bit, there's a lot of grass as well as leaves, twigs, things like that inside of it. And if I do open up one of these dung balls and feel inside, I can actually feel that it's very, very warm in the dung. And this tells us that this elephant dung is very, very fresh. I can see that it's walked through this open area and then walked onto the road where the vehicle is parked. And it looks like it might be 2 or 3 elephant bulls that have walked through this area. And I said this morning that we are going to look for elephants, so it's nice to come across some fresh tracks. And everything can change out here in the bush. I mean, we are following the tracks of that male lion. We are still in the area where that male lion's tracks were, but he does seem to have headed quite far into the western parts of the reserve, maybe back towards where the Pride in the West is. One of my fellow colleagues, Grant, another WildEarth presenter, actually saw some tracks, and I think he might be heading back into the western parts of the reserve. So we're going to change our plan and hopefully find these elephant bulls. There could be a couple of elephant bulls together that have moved through this area. We did also hear a branch breaking, so not too far in that general direction. So I don't think that these elephants are too far away from us at the moment. So when we do continue from here, we'll loop around slowly, maybe just switch off and listen out here if we can hear those branches breaking again. And these elephant bulls, they may start to head towards water. There is a water hole not too far away from us, and they might start heading there for their morning drink. It'll be quite incredible to have these elephants come down towards the water this morning. I can see also that in this dung pile there's lots of little flies and things like that around. So it is a very nice fresh pile of dung. And the tracks, I can actually see the tracks where this elephant's walked. He's walked from this dung pile in this direction. It will be very tough for you at home to see, but when an elephant walks, it puts its foot down and the front toes will actually kick up a little bit of dirt in the front of the track, and this can indicate to you which direction this elephant might be moving. And in this case, the dirt has pushed a little bit further forward towards the vehicle, so this elephant's gone through in that general direction there. I can also see that there is a number of them because there's 2 or 3 dung piles within this area, so I would think that it's maybe 3 or 4 elephant bulls. We have been seeing them all together in this area quite recently, so hopefully we can, like I say, find them for everybody at home. Like I said, let's jump back in the vehicle. Let's start looping around, seeing if we can maybe find these elephant bulls for everybody sitting at home.
Welcome back to the high points of Pridelands, where Paul has decided to get a little bit creative. He stopped to smell the roses.
most relaxed little piglets just walking in front of the car. They didn't move for the car. They've moved off now and Mummy's watching, but they are probably the most relaxed warthogs I've ever seen. They obviously have not learned yet that danger lurks around every single corner. Mom is aware of that. That is sweet. They were just walking right in front of the car. We always get surprised when we find relaxed warthogs. And in other part of the world, you will find warthogs that are relaxed and they can become quite accustomed to humans and they'll either walk right up to you or right past you. But here in the Sabi Sands, the mammalian predator density is far too high in the form of leopards, lions, wild dogs, cheetahs, hyenas, all of them will snack on warthogs. Sadly, the Shasha Tlalamba sighting was over very fast. But those hyenas were covered in blood, fresh blood. So I'm just wondering if we still keep exploring Chitwa, maybe we're going to find some more hyenas. That would be a joy for me. And also, Kuchava was found really late last night, past drive time, on Chitwa New Driveway. And apparently she was constantly contact calling. So is she calling for her cubs? It seems highly likely. So she was on Chitwa last night. Doesn't mean she's still going to be around, but I do think it's worth just seeing if we can pick up signs of Kuchava. That would be thoroughly enjoyable, especially if we could see signs of cubs. She has given birth. She has got a litter. Imagine how exciting. So I think Chitwa is the property that we need to be on today. But I'm wondering if those hyenas killed. And I think it was a hyena hunt because that blood was so fresh, so wet, so red, which tells you it's fresh, and dripping. There's a lot of it. Now, if they had stolen an old carcass of a leopard or a lion, they wouldn't be covered in blood like that. I have a funny feeling the hyenas hunted. I'm not saying that we're going to find any remains because it's probably long gone, but we might find the hyenas themselves. And it was June in Swazi yesterday that we found together, and again it was June in Swazi today. So in the space of yesterday, we had Shasha and Tlalamba on Chitwa, very close to Gauri Main, Mreeps, very close to the Mulwanini, and then Kuchava, all in a very, very sort of small radius. It's fascinating. Okay, we're going to keep scratching around Chitwa, and we're going to send you guys over to Chad.
Oh, look what we've found. We drove probably 150, 200 meters down the road from where the elephant dung was. And you can just see, very tough to see, but you can just see the tusk of one of these elephant bulls that I was speaking of, the dung, about not too long ago. And he's just in quite a thick area at the moment feeding. And that's what we were hearing, him breaking branches. You can actually see a little bit further to the left, there's a tree that's shaking. So I'm sure there are 3 or 4 of these elephants in that more thick area. Often elephants, they'll spend quite a bit of time in thick areas when it's cold. Just waiting for that sun to start warming up. But it's definitely going to be worth spending a little bit of time around here with these elephants and seeing if they do maybe pop out. It's a beautiful open area here where we are. So if this elephant does come any closer towards us, he'll be popping out in the nice beautiful open area with that beautiful sunlight hitting him. There you can see Johan's just panned out, and beautiful open area here on andBeyond Phinda. Also quite a good area for rhinos, so we are keeping a close eye on these thickets. Rhino and elephants tend to do the same, spend quite a bit of time in the thicker areas in the morning, and as it does start to heat up there, then we'll start to move around a little bit more. But how magnificent are those tusks? It's pretty much the only thing that you can see at the moment. Amazing, such a large animal being very camouflaged out here in the African bush. We're going to spend some time here with these elephant bulls. For now, we're going to send you over to Tristan, who's got a big grazing animal for you.
We do also have an elephant, well, a little stubby-tailed elephant. It's missing its tail. It looks like half the tail is gone. I don't know what's happened to it. Sometimes you find ellies like this, and sometimes hyena damage when they were little. Hyena try to grab them, and a little infection occurs, and the tail kind of rots off, and you get these little stumps. But it must be very irritating for a little ellie to have a stump like that, because their tails are actually quite useful things for two reasons. Is that they keep flies away, one, and two, they're an indicator of kind of emotion in elephants. When they're upset, they'll put their tail out. It kind of can show how they're feeling. But this wagging of this shame, Ellie. I think we should call this morning invalid safaris, because it's just been, everything we've found has had some sort of problem, whether it be a stumpy tail or a swollen leg. You know, I feel like I'm joining that category these days as well by getting older. Body's starting to break down already, which is not great. But yeah, shame. You can see he's trying to move his tail, but there's not really much point to it. I'm afraid that doesn't have much in the way of an ability to keep anything away. But we'll focus rather on what he's doing than his little stumpy tail. You'll see. It's just the most ridiculous little tail on an elephant. It looks so weird. You don't really think about it when they've got their normal tails, but it does look odd. He's embarrassed, exactly. We're laughing at him, so he's like, well, fine then. I'm going to go and sulk in the corner, in the thickets where you can't see me. So, yes. Elephant, we'll catch you at Treehouse Dam. He's heading towards Treehouse Dam, so we're going to carry on in that direction. Because in there is Mordor. Even following a leopard is not funny in this. So we certainly aren't going to be crashing around behind a elephant bull through all of that, because all we're going to do is chase him, and I don't really want to chase him. I just want him to chill and take it easy. I don't see any sign of any other elephants. There might be some more already ahead of us, kind of going towards the dam, so I think it's worth just having a look. The dam isn't that far. Now, for all of you out there that are people, I know we haven't seen many lions of late, but there was a brief sighting now of dark mane crossing into Arathusa. So he seems fine. He's been very vocal this morning, and I think he's been vocal because it sounds like there were two male lions that came into Buffelshoek last night and then turned and went back north. There's been very interesting lion movements up in the north there. I don't know if anyone's been discussing it or talking about it, but there's a pride of 21 lions that has arrived of late. It's part of the, well, they're known as the Mbali Pride by the guys to the north of us, and they have two big males with them, and those two big males apparently were in Buffelshoek last night making a big racket and shouting the odds. So I wonder if that's why Darkmane is retreating back south quickly and just trying to call as much as possible to try and put up a sort of audible boundary rather than having to try and fight with two big males. So I think it's going to be tough times ahead for him and tough times ahead for the Talamati Pride. It probably explains a lot why the Talamatis have been kind of moving as much as they have. I think most lions would be intimidated by 21 of the opposite of the same species kind of bearing down on you. So it'll be interesting, like I say, to see where everybody settles down and goes. Unfortunately, no elephants at the dam like I was hoping. So we'll just go and kind of have a little scratch around, see what else there is, and see if there's any tracks. Hopefully we can pick up some signs for Moya in this area.
Educating our youth about the environmental threats we face is critical. Our future depends on it. The Wildlife and Environment Society of South Africa, WESA, is actively leading the charge. Their goal is to encourage children to fall in love with our natural world and to empower them to live sustainably in the future. Through their school programs, the children learn to report on environmental issues through videos, articles, and photos.
The YRE program has changed my life in so many beneficial ways. Being out there at the workshops, I was entitled to talk with others, socialize, as well as my writing skills and leadership skills have improved, so it has been great.
WESA is a membership-based organization. By joining WESA, you will be helping to provide valuable support for these youth education initiatives.
My favorite animal is a leopard, purely because I just think they are just the epitome of feline grace and power, and the way they can move about in any environment and remain hidden until they want to be seen, I just find incredibly intoxicating, and they're amazingly beautiful.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Okay, there's another big male coming in from our left here. Another big male, look at this. This is the one. Now you're going to see sparks fly, guys. Guys, it doesn't get better than this, eh? Yes, unbelievable. Africa, I love you, eh?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. I'm looking really forward to taking you through and showing you all the beautiful places here at andBeyond in Ngala. If you have any questions, please register on our website. Once registered, go to the live page feed and post your questions underneath the live feed. Join me on my next safari through andBeyond in Ngala on WildEarth. Send me live questions through the WildEarth website and I'll answer them live from the African bush.
So we are patiently sitting, waiting for the rock stars. We're in the golden circle, and we have no one on stage just yet, but they are known as being quite late risers. They've moved into this burrow system because the alpha female has dropped pups about 4 days ago. So we are hoping to see them. I said to Gerard, I think that's about the best one because that looks like it's got the most sand activity at the front. But we do wait for them. The rock stars generally are late risers, our little meerkat group. And normally when they've got pups in a den, they don't move around too much for at least 2 weeks. But nothing as yet. We've got quite a nice area here because they've got very good visibility from their biggest threat at the moment by living constantly in one burrow system is the fact that predators can then live here and they're active and there's the possibility that there's pups in the den and they could be vulnerable. So at least here they've got very good visibility all around them if there happen to be any predators that approach. I think we probably have to move on and then we'll come back here because they definitely I mean, the sun's been up for at least half an hour and they haven't popped out yet. It's a little bit breezy and windy, but not too bad. I think let's carry on, and we'll pop here again in a short while. We'll see if our cross fingers that they do come out today. All the viewers, yeah, absolutely. It is relatively cold. The only time that the pups generally only come out emerging that we see them for the first time is generally about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. But sometimes, especially newborns, if there's any sort of thing that they need to move the pups, she'll actually carry them one at a time and move them to another burrow system, but within the same burrow system. While we carry on bumbling and we'll come back to them later, we're going to send you in the meantime to Tristan and Djuma.
Well, hopefully it will be. I went past there just now, there wasn't much happening, but maybe things have popped out. We're still at Treehouse Dam and just taking it easy at the moment. I can hear some elephants around, so I'm just sitting in case they're starting to come down this way. It's also just such a beautiful spot to sit and take in the sounds of the morning. You can hear lions roaring far in the distance, and the odd fish coming up for air, catfish, and birds as well. I'm going to just sit and listen and let you guys listen too for a little bit, because it's very, very pretty to hear the birds and everything else. Nancy, broken our silence. How common is it for lions to hunt hippos in the evening? I think it depends where the lions are. In this area, not very common at all. A hippo is a very, very dangerous creature. It's not something that lions like to tangle with very much. Every now and then they try and often get taught a quite valuable lesson. Funny enough, the mapokos, which were 6 male lions that used to be in the Sabi sands, they used to go after hippos every now and then and had sort of mixed results. They did catch a few every now and then, but it wasn't, easy for them. And they used to target smaller individuals. It was very seldom that they used to go after big bulls. So smaller youngsters or cows was what they would go after. But yeah, it's not that common. Like I say, hippos really are dangerous, difficult for lions to bring down, awkward animals to kind of get into a submissive sort of body position and to be able to kill. Obviously their necks are so big they can't just wrap their canines around and basically strangle them from there or sever carotids or anything like that. So you find that they kind of have to eat from the back and weaken the animal by making it bleed and then eventually kind of it collapsing. So, here there's just other targets that are far less dangerous and far kind of easier to deal with. In places like in some of the areas like South Luangwa and Lower Zambezi and places like that, sometimes hippos are targeted because other animals might be a little bit harder to come by. And the opportunity might be there. But most lions, when eating hippos, is through injury. So hippos that have been injured fighting with one another, they either die from that injury or are severely weakened by it, and their ability to fight back is compromised. And that's when you'll find lions kind of going after hippos. But it's not a common practice at all. Like I say, it's a bit of a suicide mission in many respects. There's some crazy footage from a few years ago of a lioness big pride of lions trying to jump on a hippo, and the one lioness just kind of gets a little too close, and this hippo just lashes out and grabs her by the head and shakes her around, and the incisor of the hippo, the modified incisor of the hippo, goes straight through her chin, under her jaw, and then pops out kind of by her eye. but that lion actually survived. But it was amazing to see the power of how it just grabbed that lion and just shook it like it was weighed nothing. So generally lions are very wary of hippos. They also have quite thick skin, which is difficult to get through, and so there's just a lot of things about hippos that make it hard to hunt. Unfortunately, I don't hear those ellies coming closer. The last I heard them was kind of up on the slope here, and generally when you have elephants on that ridge, so in the direction that Morgan's pointing now, if they're on a slope and they're coming for water, they're pretty mobile often. They kind of use the downward momentum to pull themselves in towards the water point. So maybe they've just bypassed, or they've already been and they're actually moving away. So I'll bumble around and see if I can't find them. I think called Stumpy back there. It's probably the back end of the herd, and one of the young males that maybe just doing his own thing for now. So we'll try to see if we can find them. And if they are coming in this direction, well, we can always come back. It's really not a problem to just turn around and move back. Wait, we're going. I wonder where Moya is. We haven't seen her for a few days and no tracks of her. I've pretty much checked every day since I have seen her. I'm hoping that she's on a big kill and she's now fat and full and happy. She was looking a little on the skinny side the last time I saw her, so I'd like for her to be eating. But yeah, no sign of her at all. I just checked the southern area, and it could be also because they burnt Little Gowrie yesterday. Was it yesterday? The day before? Can't remember, one of the days, and it's still smouldering and smoky there, and a lot of the animals aren't fans of that smell of smoke, so that could also be why she's just not come up yet. Once that all settles down and doesn't have that kind of very pungent smell, and then there's not logs that are still kind of flaming, then you'll find that they'll start to come this way. And a lot of you might, of course, Stumpy's on his way. As we leave, this is what happens. But what we'll do is we'll just kind of just go in here somewhere, so that when he comes down, we'll actually get him at the water edge. Hello, Stumpy, old friend. Long time no see. Sorry, Morgan, I know it's not the greatest, but we've got a bit of an angle that we're at, unfortunately. Let's try and get so that we don't have many stumps in the way if he does come to drink at the dam itself. It's always Murphy's Law, you sit and you be patient and wait for an elephant to arrive, and then as you want to leave is when it decides to actually come down. You see how he's sniffing around? There is actually a little pothole, if you want to call it that, so there's a little depression there where there's quite fresh water that comes out. I've seen Kalamba drink there, and there's a couple of other elephants as well, and you can see he's kind of sniffing, and I wonder if he's trying to work out which one of these little holes actually has the water that he's looking for. So the one hole is on his left now, and then there's another one dead in front of him. You can actually see the wet soil. So let's see if he drinks from there or if he comes to the main dam. See how he's smelling? Look. No. And that's where the actual spring is for this dam. So Treehouse Dam is one of the only dams that is spring fed. It's just in that little hole there. It seeps through there. Come to the main dam. How beautiful is the reflection on the water as well before he's drinking, because he hasn't disturbed the surface of the water yet. Very, very, very pretty. There we go. We're just going to disturb the water surface. We make sure that we get nice fresh water, and off we go. And I'm actually going to keep quiet because the sounds of elephants drinking is always such a treat. Super peaceful and serene, isn't it? Just listening to the trickling of the water and him. Sometimes I think these young bulls often just play around with the water just for fun. I know he's drinking a little bit, but you can kind of see like splashes the water around and just generally messes about. And you'll find when they suck up trunkfuls of water, if there's little bits in it and they can feel things, and often they just spray it back out again until they find a little bit of cleaner water. Yeah, Michelle, I do think they are quite fussy with the quality of the water that they drink. Obviously, they don't have an option at times. Like now in the winter months, it's getting harder and harder to find fresher, cleaner water. But the fussiness is evidenced by the fact that they dig for water in riverbeds. In the summer months, sometimes there's water everywhere, but yet they won't go drink out of a certain little puddle. They'll make sure that they go somewhere where the water is cleaner and fresher. Like I say, they're very prone to digging and drinking nice filtered water. So yeah, they can be quite fussy when they're allowed to be. If let's say hypothetically we lived in a place where there was no water for kilometers and the water wasn't great quality, they'd still drink it because it would be necessity and to survive. But if they were in a place where there's lots of water like here, then they can afford to be a little bit more fussy as to what they want to drink and where they want to drink. And you generally find they like to drink from small little holes in the ground where the water is quite filtered, so it comes through the sand and is often nice and clear and clean, as opposed to something like this where buffalo and elephants and hippos have all kind of spent time in, and they've defecated and urinated and do all kinds of other things in the water. They prefer much more that kind of clean fresh water that seeps through the ground rather than this. So I think they can be quite fussy. Alright, we'll stay with him. Let's see what he does. We'll just enjoy him drinking for a little while before we carry on. Well, we're still with our Ellie, as you can see. Like I say, I'll just enjoy him having a drink. It's nice just to sit quietly while he goes about his business. Catching his own water coming out of his mouth, look. Silly boy. Stumpy, you're a character too, just like Mreeps, so both of you have provided lots of entertainment this morning. I think he's done with his drink though. That was kind of like, I don't feel like having any more, so I'm just going to dribble this out. Alright, so we'll leave him. We'll probably carry on, see if we can find the rest of the elephants that we heard up the road a little bit earlier.
Welcome back to Pridelands. Welcome to the down slopes of the hill. We've emerged from the mountains and we now found ourselves down Leopard Dam, a nice favourite area to come and have a look for some tracks. Also, I wanted to see if we could follow up on those elephants that we had tracks of and dung of earlier, but nothing. Just dropped my stick. Apologies. Now, everybody, if you ever do happen to come this close to water in an area where there are potentially crocodiles, make sure you can see the bottom. Now, it's quite shallow. I can see the bottom all the way to there. I wouldn't be standing here if I was concerned. So, but bear in mind, crocodiles can occur in any water body 50 kilometers from an area that has crocodiles. Bear that in mind. Your swimming pool included. So it doesn't seem like elephants have swum in some days in this, maybe because it's getting cooler, but the water is much clearer. Last time I was here, I had lots of people asking, why is it so murky? And well, that's because of the churning up. You can imagine 5 or 6 elephants a day swimming in here, churning all the mud and all the sediment, very, very fine sediment that sits on the bottom and all just floats to the surface and it sits in suspension for a period of time. If you take a bit of mud and put it in a glass of water or a jar of water, you shake it, it takes time to settle eventually, especially that very fine silt sediment that's come from upstream that eventually fills up these dams and needs to be removed. Okay, so we thought we'd come down to the water's edge, just give you a nice reflection from a very different point of view. Eddie, I haven't seen a crocodile in Pridelands actually. Up on the Lavuvu where I was just recently up in the northern Kruger, lots and lots of crocodiles there, big ones. The biggest crocodile recorded was pulled, or in southern Africa, was pulled out of the Lavuvu River, 5.5 meters, 1 metric ton. It's a big crocodile. Saw lots of tracks in it as well. I haven't seen a crocodile here. It's not to say that there aren't any. The Olifants River is not that far away. Crocodiles can move. They can move. I just don't know if there's too many fish in this watering hole for a crocodile. That would definitely influence the need to be here. Okay, well, we're going to walk around the dam, see if we can find any lovely tracks, see if we can find some elephants. I'll send you over to DJ, who's patiently waiting for some meerkat pups. Okay, well, sorry about that, but we've got a couple of giraffe just behind over here that have decided they want to head in our general direction. 3 giraffe. Now, we don't want to influence them. We are here by the water where I'm sure they want to come. Beautiful giraffe. Look at them. 2 ladies and a gentleman. Now, I've noticed the giraffe here in Pridelands are very relaxed. Very, very relaxed. They don't really have too much of an issue with us. And that's cool. Nice to have. Obviously, we don't pet them or feed them, everybody. That is a very big no-no. You can hear the oxpeckers. Giraffe are going to walk right towards us. Going to walk around us, perhaps. So by their behavior, there's a good indication that they aren't too spooked. They want to come and drink, but for us to back away now, it's not going to influence this one walking around us on the left. So we're just going to stand here, let them come around, and they're probably going to come and drink on the other side there. Wouldn't that be something special to see? Hello, beautiful lady. Their friends are going to follow. Now she's going to stop and look at us with those beautiful eyelashes. Hello. Oh, there's another one emerging behind. Beautiful. There's something about the giraffe, isn't there? It's mystified naturalists, mystified many people for very, very long time, how they got to their size. These gentle giants. Now, something that mystifies me, you can see the giraffe has moved up to a knobthorn there, and the knobthorn is in full flower. Now, I arrived on Pridelands a couple of days ago, and I've noticed all the tall knobthorns are all in full flower, which is very strange. They are definitely a plant that flowers in spring. Early spring, they're an indication of the changing of seasons, but we are still in the dead of winter. So I don't know. Maybe the water table is high. We've had some warm days. Maybe the knobthorns are responding to the fact that, there is water, so they can produce flowers. It's possible. I don't know if anybody knows why the knobthorns have flowered early. I don't ever recall them flowering this early. Please do let me know. It's a very important food source for me animals. Cammy, what a treat indeed, eh? What a treat indeed. The giraffe will feed on the flowers. Many of the birds will as well. We see our go-away birds feeding on the flowers and a number of other birds. Bees, a very important source of food for this time of year. Now, there's a reason why certain plants flower out of season or times when others aren't flowering, and what that does is that maximizes the transferal rate of their pollen from one flower to another. If you have 5 species all flowering at the same time, pollinators, unless it's very specific types of flowers, pollinators are going to go from all the different 5-6 species. There's going to be all sorts of different cross-pollination that's not going to be successful. But knobthorns, many of our forest trees go through sort of pollination, or at least fruiting, at different times, and pollination different times, so as to maximize the ability of the cross-pollination of the species specifically. Okay, while our giraffe are heading around us feeding, maybe they'll come down to drink on the other side. We might just hang out and see, but let's send you back, see if Tswalu's up and running.
So 2 adventurous souls have come out, that's all we've seen, and they are pretty chilly. Only one of them has been doing some burrow maintenance. We've been seeing some sand flying, but you can see how fluffy they are. They do have a little bit of a winter coat, but still relatively bare chest area, so that's why they need to warm up. They are very, very late risers. We're going into late winter, so 8:30. Some days for the rock stars, 9 o'clock is not uncommon for them to decide to emerge for the first time. But numbers looking good. We've seen 2 of 15. So at this stage, the alpha female, she's had the pups, which means she needs to go and get food on a daily basis in order to produce the milk to feed the pups. So they'll already be in a system where one of the younger adults will end up getting babysitter duty and have to stay at the den monitoring the pups. But the meerkats will feed close by, so they'll feed in little sort of round loops and keep coming back to the den, relieve the babysitter, and then they change and that babysitter gets to go feeding and another one takes over. But the alpha female doesn't have to do the babysitting duties because she needs to get the food. That's one of the sub-adults from previous litter. Generally about sort of a 4 to 5 month gap between pups. A few more heads popping out. There's another one that's still hesitant to come out completely. Darcy Miller is asking the question, how long did it take these meerkats to become habituated? So Tswalu, for more than 10 years now, has been working on the different groups of meerkats. We're very fortunate to have 3 different groups of meerkats, but it's as relaxed meerkats have broken away and then gone and established themselves with other meerkat groups that you start working on them. It's a long time consuming process. You have to gain their trust first. Normally we decide to pick a group that's relatively close to a road so that they're already familiar with the sound of vehicles, so they're not in and out of the burrow just when a vehicle approaches. And then you slowly make your way out of the vehicle, that they see the human form, but far enough away from the burrows that they can carry on just sort of looking at you. The first couple of times sort of in and out the burrows, they're a little bit nervous. And then as they start trusting that you're not a threat, you find them in the evening where they go down, and then in the morning, first thing before they come up like this, you're sort of standing there at a reasonable, safe, comfortable distance. They get used to the fact that you're there every day, and over time, that's how they become habituated. Also, in a situation like now, with young pups in a den, as soon as the pups start coming out, they just see a human form and nobody runs away from them. So everybody just realizes that you're no threat.
Hi, I'm Nikki, your guide here at andBeyond in Ngala. So my favorite animal in the African bush definitely has to be the zebra, because like people, with our fingerprints, every single zebra has a different stripe pattern. And, of course, a group of zebras together is called the dazzle. How unique is that? Come and join me or one of my colleagues here in Ngala for a sunrise and sunset safari on WildEarth.
I've seen something I've never seen here before. Look at these cubs. One is crossing the river. It's being washed away, unfortunately, but I'm sure the mother is going to save her. Look at that. How beautiful. Look at that. One crossing, 2 to go. How cool is this?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Hello, I'm Marna, your WildEarth safari guide from andBeyond Ngala. What I really like about connecting with WildEarth viewers is that we get to speak to viewers instantly, and I get to show you this beautiful property. If you want to ask me a question, register on the WildEarth website. Simply head over to the live safari page and you can submit your questions there. Join me or one of the other guides twice a day on WildEarth.
No, the meerkat is not smoking in the burrow. It's just high activity, doing some housekeeping. And with the wind, the sand is blowing all over the place. So, always good to have a look out. when Gerrit and I drove off the first time, we actually bumped into a jackal not too far from here, so hopefully that doesn't come anywhere close. But that would be one of the biggest things that they would be worried about, is if they did see it earlier. We see in the far background, we've actually got, they can see it, they've seen it already, an ostrich to the far. There we go, in the far background. So they've seen it, they're watching it, just checking it move. It's a nice big male ostrich. There were 2 of them there, I just see the one at the moment. Even ostrich get cold. Even they lie down when it's relatively cold and then only start getting moving when it's a bit warmer. And they'll be picking up anything that they can find, some plants and everything like that. We're going to send you across to Lauren at Djuma.
Very eventful, lots of action. Fighting, hyenas. But sadly, it's all gone a little bit quiet now, I'm afraid. We drove past a hyena den again and there's nobody home, or nobody that we could see from the boundary line at least. So we're just scratching around Djuma now. See if we can pick up on signs of anybody else. I mean, there's definitely buffalo around. My goodness, buffalo leave quite the mess behind them. Also smell them. It's a very strong smell of buffalo. And they've been on Djuma. I'm assuming it's the same herd. They've been on Djuma for a few days now. Hold on, Bobby. Slowly approaching Treehouse Dam. We'll see if there's any activity happening at the dam. Fingers crossed there is, but for now, Chad has already made his way to his dam.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda, and we decided to leave those elephant bulls there. We're moving into the thicker area, so there was no view anymore. We also did drive around the area where those monkeys were alarm calling and didn't find any signs of any predators. So that predator might still be in quite a deep drainage line, but we've come to this beautiful water hole where I think we'll just sit in silence for a little bit and enjoy. There's a couple of bird calls around, some hippos in the water. Just a beautiful scene overall. So let's just take a moment's silence and just enjoy the African bush. What a beautiful time spent here at this little waterhole here on andBeyond Phinda. I've actually just spotted a crocodile. Karen, it is a beautiful moment just to appreciate this beautiful scenery with the hippos and the crocodile. The crocodile, Johannes, where that bird was, just a little bit down onto the small little mud bank, just next to the water. It's very tough to see if you zoom in a little bit. Yeah, on that, there we go. You can see quite a young crocodile just resting on the bank, waiting for that sun to heat up a little bit, try and gain a little bit of energy today. And it has been an extremely cold morning, but as that sun does beam down on us, it is starting to warm up a little bit, and that crocodile's gonna enjoy that sun. Maybe even later on this afternoon, slide back into the water and see what there is to hunt, what's on offer. There's even an Ngala just off to the side of the waterhole that's slowly starting to come down, maybe for its morning drink. A beautiful antelope there. You can see those beautiful white markings on the side. That's the female Ngala. The male Ngala is almost like a charcoal grey color. So the sexual dimorphism is pretty different. And one of the only antelopes that is basically completely different to one another, males and females. But just a stunning little antelope. And it's the most common antelope we get here on andBeyond Phinda. Whereas I know in Djuma and up in andBeyond Ngala and Pridelands, you often see impalas as the most abundant antelope. But here in this Maputo land area where we are in Zululand, this antelope that we're looking at, the Ngala, is the most abundant one that we have around. You can see she's quite hesitant to come down towards the water. She never knows what might be lurking in the water. I mean, we've seen one crocodile, but there definitely could be other crocodiles that might be around. And this exact waterhole where we are sitting, I do have a special guest sitting on the back with me today, Matt Durrell, another WildEarth presenter, and he's actually witnessed a crocodile as well and a wildebeest interacting at this waterhole. He had the privilege to sit with guests and see this showdown where the crocodile had grabbed the wildebeest, and the wildebeest was trying to get away. And I've spoken to Matt a number of times about that exact sighting, and it's one of his highlights here on andBeyond Phinda the last 4 years. What a special sighting to see. It's got some quite incredible photographs from that sighting. There you can see that crocodile once again. I mean, this crocodile that we're looking at, probably 1.5 meters maybe, so not too big. I'm not too sure that we'll be able to take down something as big as a wildebeest, but maybe some fish. I'm sure there'll be some barbel, maybe even tilapia in this waterhole, and that crocodile will definitely go for something along the lines of that. Whereas a big crocodile, I mean, that crocodile that Matt saw at this waterhole is probably 3.5 meters, maybe even 4 meters long. So an incredible sized crocodile that took that wildebeest. I can only imagine it was quite something to witness that. We're going to sit here at this waterhole. I mean, it's such a beautiful morning here on andBeyond Phinda. We'll spend a little bit more time at this water, see if there's anything that comes down for a drink.
something will come down. It's a good time of the day to be at Waterholes. It's a warm morning, so I'd imagine some things are actually going to... It's actually where we're heading at the moment. We're going to be heading to Tswalu Dam, try and see if there's any sign coming to drink there. Right, if we can kind of pick up anything. Alright, unfortunately it sounds like our signal's not working very well, so we're going to send you across to Lauren.
Bumbling with us. We're still on the search for some animals. But I think our plan is to go sit by the dam. The sun's coming up, it's nice and warm. So maybe there'll be some activity around the water body. This is actually a really nice viewpoint. You can see well to the north into another property. If I just stop here, Davi can give you a beautiful, beautiful view of the horizon.
African jacanas. Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. It's such a stunning scene that we've got here. And just listening now, we were hearing branches breaking just off to our right-hand side, and it sounds like there might be maybe another elephant or two in this very thick drainage line right behind us at this waterhole. And I think as it does start to heat up this morning, I'm sure those elephants will come down towards the water to have a drink. There's a little bit of bird life that's happening around here. There's a couple of dab chicks or little grebes that are around. There Johan's going in towards some jacanas. See, there's 3 of them there. Oh, quite close to that crocodile. That would be quite incredible if that crocodile just had to snap around and take one of those African jacanas. It actually looks like there's a female with 2 youngsters. The one in the front looks like a fully grown one, and then it looks like 2 juveniles that might be with it. The one's flown off over the water. I wonder if these 2 are going to then follow. There's also some Egyptian geese that are flying over. White-breasted cormorants also. There's a waterhole a little bit further away from us where those white-breasted cormorants do nest. And maybe from here we'll start heading in that direction and see what's happening at the other waterhole with those white-breasted cormorants nesting. And it's quite incredible. They make a lot of noise, the chicks in the nests, waiting for mom or dad to bring back some food. And there's also a beautiful little pod of hippos It does seem like it's maybe 3 or 4, and maybe a younger male hippo that's taken the territory around this waterhole. I do see that there is a youngster also. And that little dab chick in the top right-hand corner of the screen just swimming around. The Johan's doing some incredible camera work for this little grebe. Seems like it's actually fishing, looking for any food that might be around. Oh, it's got a fish. Yeah, it's got a fish. What? That's incredible. It's trying to kill it at the moment. You can see that fish is wiggling around. How crazy is that? I think that little grebe might be trying to kill that fish before it does swallow it. Oh, gone. Oh no, still got it. That fish does look quite a reasonable size. It's a nice little snack, early morning snack for that little grebe. I agree, that was an incredible catch. Well done to that little grebe. I thought it was almost too big for that little grebe, but seems to have successfully caught it. There it goes again, dips down. Let's see if it comes up with another fish. Oh, popped up a little bit further. No luck this time. That was incredible to watch. I've never actually seen a little grebe catch a fish like that, so that was brilliant to see. We were just talking about crocodile and grabbing things, but that was very special to see that little grebe. I think we're gonna move off from this waterhole. We've spent some good time around this waterhole. We're going to continue on a little bumble, see what else we can find. But for now, we're going to send you over to Deirdre at Tswalu, who's got something special for you.
So, 2 busybodies there, really busybodies, but all of them are participating in the housekeeping. And I do suppose it's if they're planning on spending the next 2 weeks here while they've got pups in the den, they might as well make some alterations. One's not sitting in the smartest place. If there's one thing they know how to do, and that's move sand. Everybody's doing their little bit at one of the holes. And especially while it's cold at the moment, there's no reason for them to move on too quickly. They need to warm up a little bit first. So I suppose digging is one of those activities that will help them warm up. And then they'll move on to go and find some insects for the day. They're looking at another meerkat that's far down the road, but it's standing in the middle of the road. So I'm not too sure. It could be a wild meerkat. And then sometimes that is potentially a threat to them. But I know that between these 3 groups, there is one random wild one. And I have seen them at this burrow before, so now he might have been displaced by them moving in. But a big group like this does not feel threatened by one wild meerkat. they'll keep him at bay. And sometimes that individual is trying to get into the group and be absorbed into the group as a little bit of a family. He might have landed up being pushed out by another group. And just by the way that he approaches them day after day or sort of hangs around them, eventually sometimes they will actually allow him to join them. So maybe there's a plan. But we also know that this particular alpha female, sometimes as soon as she has pups, she chases the beta female away, and that could be the beta female. So Nicholas is asking the question, how large and complex are their burrows? So this particular system, I think if I had to walk a circle, it's around about a 10 meter circle. Their burrows average to about a meter under the ground, and initially constructed by ground squirrels. And then the meerkats move in and they make modifications, which, as you can see by their housekeeping, they are moving quite a bit of soil. Sometimes they actually manage to make the burrows interconnect, and that is a really ideal system, so that if they run into one hole, if anything is chasing them, they can pop out somewhere else. And some of them over years can actually grow to quite large. This one is a relatively new one for them to have moved into. So they are expanding as we speak. But it seems to average, I mean, some of the other burrow systems, like the Makalas, for example, they're in a burrow system that's been in existence for a really, really long time, and that's probably about 4 times the size of what these ones are in. But they also then, the bigger the burrow system, very often there are other animals that they share them with, like ground squirrels or yellow mongoose. We have even had little bat-eared foxes or Cape foxes nearby some of them. So it depends on how large the system is. But they seem to have occupied almost every one of the holes in this burrow. And especially in winter, they want to be able to fit a couple of meerkats in one hole at least. That keeps them nice and warm at night. I haven't seen the alpha female at this stage, so she's possibly still underground with the pups. It must be quite difficult to do your job as a sentry looking around when you're just getting sand thrown up in your face. I would also look away if I were them. Question from Wild Woman is a very good question, in fact. Are they able to prevent snakes from getting into these burrows? So, as a group of meerkats, if they do feel threatened by a snake, they can act as a mob and try and sort of attack and bite at a snake in order to try and chase it away. But sometimes they're not always successful, and that maybe the puff adder is already in the hole in a lying in wait position. And sometimes if the Cape Cobra is persistent and slithers into the burrow, then it is very difficult for them. So they are vulnerable to snakes. They don't, if they get to a burrow system and they can smell or they feel that there's a snake around, when I say feel, I mean by smell or they see it, then they'll often move burrow systems. So we're going to stick with them a little bit while they continue to do their housekeeping. We are crossing our fingers and hoping that maybe the female will move one of the pups.
Suspended above Kenya's Masai Mara is a breathtaking lodge where unrivaled service goes hand in hand with extraordinary wildlife sightings. Ngama Mara offers a quiet place where guests have the opportunity to reconnect with the world again. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer before the end of July, and you and a friend could win a 3-night stay at this award-winning lodge. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
There's a grounding earthiness to this place that we feel in our ancestors. It's a place where, believe it or not, we evolved as a human species, and anyone who's come to Africa will understand that. The connectivity that the continent has to the person and to people's souls is next level. I'm thoroughly looking forward to taking you on your next adventure when we explore all the small and big things.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... Oh. That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
We've taken a moment to just absorb the sunshine. So only one is still doing some cleaning, but the rest are just enjoying the sunshine. There's a little crowned lapwing that's moving around in the background that they're watching. Oh, no, everyone's gone back to being busy. So as soon as these pups are old enough, when they're about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, they'll emerge for the first time, and they'll feed and forage very close to the burrow. And each one of them will get almost like a babysitter that will go feeding with them and even provide them with food, but then they're teaching them how to dig and what they can and can't eat. And that's for about at least a month. And lots of noise and chatter happens during that time because the pups are constantly vocal, begging for food and hoping that one of the adults will bring them something. And then at about a month, they're a little bit better at feeding themselves, and they beg a lot less, and then they are quite well integrated into the group at that time. And even the youngsters, then they start playing. All of the youngsters will play with each other. There's some grooming going on there. Also essential to keep your fur nice and clean. And that's constant bonding as well. As soon as they're sort of grooming each other, that's reaffirming the bonds between them and also getting the different smells. The meerkat groups smell all over each other, so they can recognize one of their own group members. Two birds just flew in and are shouting at them, but I don't know what the two birds are, but they ducked. And they're chittering at them. That's interesting. I haven't seen meerkats be afraid of birds before, but they sort of flew in and they're shouting at them. Oh, nice, 2 ground scraper thrushes. Those are very, very pretty. Nice streaking on the belly. A ground scraper thrush will also be looking for insects. Maybe as the meerkats are disturbing the soil, there's a possibility that they can get the insects. Now, a meerkat's not going to chase after one of these birds. It's not on its prey range. They're not bird eaters, as it were. They focus only on insects. And pretty much they're watching them, but they won't feel threatened by them at all. They're just watching what they're doing. Catherine is asking the question what research is being done on the meerkats at Tswalu at the moment. So we're not actually researching the meerkats actively. We do have one of our staff members, a habituator, that spends every day with them, every morning and every afternoon, and he just takes notes. So if there is anything that he picks up that's interesting, we will learn something new from that. But we don't have anyone researching meerkats specifically at this stage. Tswalu's very, very fortunate that we do have a lot of research projects. We've got research projects on little pygmy falcons, which are little birds that live in amongst the sociable weavers' nests. We have a snake researcher doing research on Cape Cobra as well as puff adder. We've got people doing sparrow weaver research, also sociable weavers. We've got small mammals. They've just recently done some rodent surveys here. So Tswalu, very, very active and important in contributing to that sort of conservation of the Kalahari. It's very important for us to understand how these animals survive and how they're going to react. A lot of our projects are also aimed at what will happen if we have climate change. So most of the projects now are focusing on that. We also have people doing research on pangolin. And if I forgot any of the researchers, I apologize. We've got lots of different projects. Renee is asking the question, why are meerkats sometimes pushed out from their group? So that'll be very much dictated based on the alpha female and alpha male. If a female, like a beta female, wants to be an alpha female, then sometimes that is seen as a bit of a threat, so they will push them out. Sometimes also meerkats move of their own accord. If a sub-adult male starts getting to maturity and he wants the possibility to breed and go and be an alpha male somewhere else, then they may move on. And so sometimes it's personal choice and sometimes it's fighting. We've had some serious fights between sort of alpha and beta female, so she just tries to sort of keep her in her place. And what you'll find, if she constantly keeps pushing this beta female away, if she manages, that beta female manages to find one or two males that have left, they can establish their own little colony. So sometimes it's for the good of the group. If meerkats move out, then there's the possibility for some genetic changes as well. Now it's playtime. All the little youngsters from the last group had 5. Well, those will be like about 4 months old now. They're having a good play. So I've seen 12 meerkats total, so there's still a couple of them missing. Definitely the alpha female hasn't come out yet. but aren't they just loving that sun? It's still a little bit of a windy breeze, but not as icy cold as it can get sometimes. There was a bird that just flew over. None of them were paying attention, but all they literally saw was this shadow swooping down over them, and they all ducked, but it was only a glossy starling, so nothing to fear. It was not an eagle, but it just shows you how quick the reaction must be in case it was a larger bird of prey. Eddie is asking the question, do I think any of the other females have mating rights? So typically not in a group of meerkats, but sometimes the beta female can also fall pregnant and have pups. And the alpha female's response to that can be different in each situation. The alpha female can either decide to take the pups for herself, or she can decide to kill the pups, which is not uncommon, or she almost, the group basically just abandons that female to look after the pups on her own. And in that situation, then the pups are unlikely to survive because the beta female cannot go find food, protect the pups, and keep coming back. So although it can happen, if it does happen, it's not often that they're actually successful raising them all the way to adulthood. They're starting to get moving now. They're heading out foraging. They're going off as a little band, a mob of meerkats. So 1 or 2 adults left, but that's most of the sub-adults and the youngsters going off. Next hole, check it out. They're heading in the general direction of that single meerkat that we saw earlier. So sometimes you get this war-like behavior. It's like a bit of a war dance where they bounce with their tails up in the air to show sort of signs of aggression, especially if they want to chase that individual away. But also sometimes getting a little bit closer, they might actually recognize that it is one of their own. So as they move on, we're probably also going to move on ourselves, see what we can find you for the last little bit of the morning.
We're on our most northern boundary, searching for tracks or any signs of animals. It's almost like a highway. Gives you the advantage of seeing to the south, which is Djuma, and to the north, which is Buffelshoek. One side has been burned by the fire break, conservation management tool, and one side has not. There's quite a beautiful view getting to look at both properties. I like sitting on the cut lines. I like the feeling of being in between two properties, and also the possibility of animals crossing. They don't know it's boundary lines. It's a very, very good place to check, especially for the predators. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to drive this highway and scratch around for any signs of the predators.
Well, we're still bumbling about. It's been a quiet sort of last half of our morning. Not really much to go for it. Went and checked up towards Tswalu Dam and kind of along the eastern side, and well, only found was buffalo tracks. There's no real sign of anything moving around there. It's so weird. Tswalu Dam always used to be a place where you'd at least see some tracks every now and then, but since Tandi has further south and things become a little bit more nomadic, it just doesn't seem like Tswalu Dam gets visited as much as it used to. Everything seems to be congregating around Chitwa or around the gate areas. There's tracks for a lioness here. I wonder if the guys I know were following tracks this morning, so it must be these ones that went all the way towards Manyeleti. And it was confirmed this morning that the Talamatis do have new cubs, by the way. That's a bit of big news. Somebody on the Manyeleti side saw 2 Talamati lionesses with some cubs. I don't know how many, but they were there, and then it seems as though there was lots of lion chaos with males up there. Hopefully they're not anywhere near those cubs. But yeah, it's interesting that they've got new ones. I wonder who's the father of those cubs. It can't be dark mane. So what you're going to find is those females will split from the pride. They're not going to come to the pride if dark mane is there. I don't think anyone reported him mating with those females. I know they mated with Tortured, young male, and I know they mated also with S8. So I would expect one of those guys to be the dad. And that's why we're not... and that's why they're kind of hanging up in the north in Manyeleti rather than down here. So interesting times ahead. There was also apparently 2 leopards seen crossing into Manyeleti from Buffelshoek, but I didn't get an idea of who they are. I'm trying to work out what's going on because somebody told me the other day that they had tracks for a leopard with 2 cubs on that boundary, and we don't know if it's Saseka or if it's Luna that those tracks are for. So I'm intrigued to know if these 2 leopards that we're seen moving now were in Klangula and somebody else, or if it was another female, or if it was, maybe this female with only 1 cub. I don't know. The person that found them didn't really explain, and it sounded like the sighting only lasted for about 1 minute before they crossed. But yeah, there's lots going on, because in Sele it looks like she's pregnant, so I would be surprised if she's within Klangula. Or maybe it's that new male that's up there, that one with the broken tail. I don't know. Lots to try and decipher over the course of the next couple of months, particularly in that northern part of Buffelshoek. Seems to be a lot going on around Big Dam there at the moment. Lots of mystery and intrigue. But Djuma has also been exceedingly quiet. So if I think about it of late, it's really been quite tough on Djuma itself. Probably the last month has not been that productive on Djuma. We've struggled a little bit from a sightings point of view. A lot of our sightings have been Chitwa, Torchwood, Buffelshoek, but Djuma itself has been fairly quiet. And I'm sure, and a lot of that, when I say quiet, I'm talking more about leopard than lions. The lions have been pretty good on Djuma. But the thing is just due to the instability of the males at the moment that's causing a little bit of quietness on Djuma between Mulawati, Tavankumi, this new male, Tingana. It's just not an easy place for females to coexist. Alright, we're going to just meander our way down the hill. While we do that, let's send you across to Deirdre.
So we've left the rock stars and continued on down the road, and I gave the rock stars an unfair rap that they're the late risers, because here's the horses and they haven't even left their burrows yet. So this is the group of 9, and they're also sticking around at home, not looking too keen to move. The wind is starting to pick up a little bit. You can see there how the grass is moving, but there are only 4 out of 9 out the burrows at this stage, so they've proven the point that the rock stars are not always the last ones up and out of bed. Sometimes you can see it starts getting quite cold when the meerkats don't stand up directly and they actually almost sit down hunching in the sun. That's also one of the ways to conserve the body heat that they do have while the sun is warming them up, and you can see how that light shines on their chest. They're definitely facing towards the sun to make sure that that thinner hair on their chest, they warm up nicely. Jaden's comment is rock stars and the horses, how amazing. Absolutely. They're actually, they're all neighbors between the rock stars, the makalas and the horses. They're all neighbors. They're all within the same sort of 3 square kilometer block and are effectively neighbors. The horses, the ones that we're looking at now, originally used to live where the makalas live, but the makalas were more and pushed them out and they went north, and then the rock stars encroached on the other end. So it is quite amazing to observe all those dynamics, and that's what the meerkat habituator does on a daily basis, is just which burrows they stay in, who's where, and if any of them go missing, then sometimes they pop up with another group. It is nice to know, so that's sort of each one of them has a little bit of a family history.
We have another wonderful guest with us, Sergio Real. Sergio is a holder of the Ticket to Dream.
I bought a Ticket to Dream because I love WildEarth. All of the guides have been awesome. We've been watching for years, and it's a favorite part of my day to get to watch the drives. I look forward to seeing lots of leopards.
If you want to go on safari with a WildEarth guide, whilst honing your bush knowledge and of course featuring in one of our shows, then head over to our website.
My favorite part of the drive today was definitely an elephant that paid us a visit and came right to our car.
Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and you could be making your first ever on-screen appearance.
It's amazing being on a live drive in Djuma. It's just fantastic. The scenery is beautiful and the animals are even better.
Hello everyone, my name is Trishala and I am a naturalist and safari guide here in Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands in South Africa. I think that the information that we provide, and most importantly the questions that you ask, give both you and I a really good idea of what's going on. My friend Fernando here, he's a flat-necked chameleon, and I love them. They're just these gems that you manage to find in the bush.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Oh, it's going to be in trouble now. Oh, this is unbelievable stuff. Here comes a hippo in too. Go, Impala. There's a hippo coming in. I can't believe what we're seeing here. This is what we normally see in East Africa. It's all over. Hippo leaping at the crocodile now. Everything's gone underwater.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for WildEarth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on WildEarth.
So, it seems like the teenagers are the ones that haven't woken up yet in the horses. It looks like majority adults, but one sub-adult and then the next, their set of youngsters haven't decided to emerge out the burrows just yet. So if by them, the horses being neighbors with the rock stars have more numbers. So if the rock stars encroached on this direction, which they technically were heading north, but it's a good kilometer or so away, so unlikely that they'll get here in sort of 5 minutes. But for example, if this particular group decided that they were going to go foraging in a southerly direction today and the rock stars are foraging in a northerly direction, they could actually encounter each other. And then they would do that sort of war dance with each other to chase each other, but the horses would move off because the the rock stars have the numbers. So they'll retreat and get back to their sort of burrow system. But they can fight quite aggressively if a group of them manages to pin one down from a rival group. There's one of the sub-adults is attempting to make a move out foraging. That's where the others are. They keep looking behind us. So we're definitely not going to be able to pan all the way around them because they're literally directly behind the vehicle. But there are two of the others out foraging already, which is what they're looking at. So the adults have decided that they weren't waiting for the teenagers. They've gone out foraging, but then they will also do a little bit of sentry duty from there. And as soon as they look around and they see that it's an area that's safe to feed, then they'll make the noises that tell the other meerkats that they can come towards them, feeding in that general direction. Oh, he got breakfast. He has to work really, really hard for his breakfast. It's either going to be beetles, grubs, or a scorpion. Scorpions are the ones that they really, really find worthwhile, but it takes them quite a bit of time to dig them up because they're at least about 30 centimeters under the ground. So it can take them a couple of minutes. Horse Lover says she loves how they always, the parents are always the first ones to be on lookout. It is, they basically then continue to teach all the youngsters, and it's actually majority of the time the males that will do most of the sentry duty, but also they'll share the babysitting duty at a den if there are youngsters. And sometimes even climbing trees. We've got one behind us. We're going to swing round. You're probably going to get the aerial in the shot and a little bit of the vehicle, but or the front side of the vehicle. There's one meerkat that's doing his job as the sentry high on top. Well, he's not high on the tree, but he's got a nice observation post there, and that's actually looks like the alpha female. She's actually quite big. So as that meerkat looks out into the open plains, so too will we catch up with you much later this afternoon at 2:30 Central African Time, and you can join us again on our live safari. So thank you very much from all our different locations, and we will see you later.